bonds are getting more expensive every single month and it's becoming a bit ridiculous. In this video, we're going to talk about the numbers, potential causes, and how it affects the player base, so whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you enjoy RuneScape content and would like to stay updated with the recent news and events, be sure to subscribe. Okay, when I say bond prices are getting a little bit ridiculous, I mean it. The price of a bond went up 48.2% in just 6 months from 13 March to 13 September. Which is the date of recording. Now that is an absurd increase for an item that is so heavily tied into the game. In fact, if we were to take the G price of 62.5 million, which wasn't even the all-time high from a few days ago, you get the following cost per convertible option. The cost of membership would be around 4.1 to 4.5 million GP per day, depending on how many bonds you'd use at once. A rune coin would set you back 320k per rune coin, and a treasure hunter key would cost you almost 4.2 million GP. And let's say you're looking to buy the Aura, which will cost you 3 bonds. Be prepared to drop the same amount of money you dropped on a tier 90 weapon for an aura you can use every 24 hours, assuming you don't have any resets. Now remember, these are just some examples. You can get a bunch more things with bonds like name changes, rune metrics, and so on. But what I want to make clear is that getting things using bonds is very, very expensive. And some of you watching may be thinking, bonds going up, pretty normal around a new yak track release, which is every single quarter nowadays. But no. This really isn't normal. In the 6-month chart on the RuneScape website, you can see that bonds definitely go down, but the trend is absolutely going up. It doesn't really become clear how much bonds have increased in price until you go to the RuneScape wiki and sort the chart by all time. Bonds have increased 79% since 12 months ago. That is getting close to doubling the price. And you can clearly see that bonds started to go up around mid-2021. Now, why is that, and what are the potential causes of this immense price increase in bonds? Because the player base has actually decreased since the price increase. Well, first of all, bonds, alongside pretty much every other single microtransaction, went up in price about 5 months ago on the 4th of May. Now, it depends very much on which currency you use, but for bonds in US dollars, they went up by about 14%, and in euros by about 22%. Now, funnily enough, this was announced early April, and as you can see, bonds were in a little bit of a dip. They went up, they just shot up in value, then dipped again, and once the actual update came, that increased the prices on the 4th of May. Again, they were in a dip, and they went up in value straight after. It's likely that the price changes had some impact there and still have, but this definitely isn't the root cause to the price increase, as the steep climb upwards started way earlier than the MTX price increase announcement from early April. Now, I wouldn't say that yak tracks are the main contributor to the price increase either, because we've had 4 yak tracks every single year since 2020, and the price didn't really start climbing until mid-2021. I'd also say that the price of a bond late 2018 to early 2021 was fairly stable, ranging from 20 to 30 million GP. Now, some things did spike the price of the bond, but really, I'd say that's fairly stable considering what's going on right now. So around summer 2021, you can clearly see that bonds really started to go up in value all the way up until the end of the year. Now, what is that thing at the end of the year that made bonds spike for once? Well, that's really simple. The Golden Party Hat event and Green Santa Hat event, or should I say, cash grab. For those unaware, the Golden Party Hat event was an event where you could create your very own Golden Party Hat, which sold for like 300 to 500 million GP once per account. Again, once per account. So what do people do? They make more accounts. Outscape, baby. Now seriously though, every single player that had at least some kind of capital, so GP to buy bonds with, definitely use this. And if you didn't, well, you missed out on one of the best money makers in the game. And that includes myself. And yes, I did make a video covering the money-making method, and I made a couple of extra party hats, I think like 4 or 5, I don't remember exactly, but I made some extra money so that I could use that for creating content. I'm part of the problem too, I guess. But no, really, bonds went up because of Outscape, without a doubt, and you can also see it in the RuneScape population graph. It definitely spiked then, and that wasn't because, well, maybe more players were playing and came back, but there are definitely a lot more players multi-logging than usual. If that wasn't enough, on the 13th of December, while the Golden Party Hat event was going strong, Jagex added the Presents of the Sledge event, which allowed you to collect currency, which you could use to get presents, and if you were lucky, you get a golden present, get yourself a Green Santa Hat, or you could just buy bonds, convert them to keys, and gamble your way to getting a Green Santa Hat. But, if you were to use some logic, you'd probably just buy bonds, sell them, get yourself a Green Santa Hat, instead of spinning for it. Because the odds of you getting one were just way too rare. And the amount of players saying they spent money on keys or spent money on GP to get bonds and keys was just absurd. I don't know what it did to people, but people went full goblin mode, okay? full goblin mode. And it goes without saying that if there's an event with a currency you can collect, which you can get a limited amount of every single hour, attracts players that want to use multiple accounts to increase their odds of getting that item. It's very obvious why that would increase the price of bonds. Now the strange thing is, after that spike, the bonds didn't seem to really crash back down to their original value. In fact, they just kept going up. Up and up and up until the current day where you're spending over 60 million GP for a freaking bond. The Duel Arena closed on the 4th of January and was replaced with Het's Oasis, and you'd expect bonds to go down because, there'd be less people staking and spending money on bonds to stake with, aka gambling, but that didn't seem to really happen. Perhaps it's inflation because players, I'd assume, were making more money thanks to Gold Rush Dungeon 3. More alcohols, more GP, bigger drops, or thanks to the better GP per hour rates, less people were actually buying bonds with real life money to sell, so the supply is lower, but the demand stays the same for people, buying membership with their bonds or keys during special promotions, and that's why they're going up. But because the price of bonds just seems to keep going up, it's quite hard to pinpoint which update or change exactly made the price increase so much. Perhaps it's a little bit of everything combined. I feel the recent increase in price is a little easier to pinpoint because of the Fresh Start Worlds announcement, a new game mode coming on the 26th of September, allowing the use of existing bonds for membership, and of course the new Yak track, which has a pretty cool tsunami combatability override, but the cause of bonds close to doubling in price in just 365 days is not exactly clear to me. What is clear to me is that this is a huge problem for both new and existing players, especially if you're free to play. PVM upgrades are already incredibly expensive, and bonds being ultra expensive must feel very discouraging towards those players who don't yet have all the fun PVM gear upgrades and pay for their membership using bonds. Just put yourself in the position of someone who just spent 120 mil to get a month's worth of membership. Now sure, you could earn that back within a month's time, no problem. Even with a mid-tier account, if you were to do something like Croesus, if you can find a team, which is very good money, and shop runs are pretty good money as well, and they help. But not everyone has time to play the game for a couple of hours every single day just to break even, let alone get upgrades. I'm not sure how many players that affects, because I'd like to think that the majority of players simply pay for membership using real life money, but that may not be an option for everyone. Remember that there are people playing this game from all over the world. And then we have free-to-play or completely new players looking to get a bond. 60 million GP is a lot of money for a free-to-play player. Most of the free-to-play money-making methods top out at maybe like 1 to 2 million GP per hour, so you can do the math on how long it takes you to get 60 mil, and then remember you're starting from zero because you remember them, which is actually a better position to be in, but it still takes a long time to get yourself a bond. But at least there is a way of getting members without spending money, so I guess that is a good thing as well. It's just that right now, it seems like you really have to grind hard to get your membership and stay members without spending money. Be sure to let me know what you think of bonds and perhaps what theories you might have as to why they increased in price down in the comments below. And remember that unlike bonds, subscribing to me is completely free.